Close call at presidential elections in Peru. Official counting of almost 90% of the vote shows progressive candidate Pedro Castillo narrowing the gap with Keiko Fujimori to less than 1%, a technical tie-up. In Colombia, President Iván Duque has ordered to modernize the national police structure to quiet down criticism on human rights abuses. Yet, such abuses against peaceful protesters continue. Israeli occupation police on Sunday arrested two prominent activists campaigning against the threatened expulsion of Palestinian families from homes in the Israeli-annexed East Jerusalem neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada. And now we begin with the news. In Peru, with almost 90% of the votes counted, progressive candidate Pedro Castillo and right winner Keiko Fujimori seem to be in a technical tie-up, with Fujimori leading by less than 1%. However, as rural votes arrive, the gap is narrowing. At 6:18 hours Lima time, and with 89.1% of the votes counted, officials' figures showed an advantage of 0.67% for Fujimori. Votes from rural areas where Castillo has won by landslide margins and abroad were still arriving. Some 2 million rural votes were estimated to be yet uncounted. Just 11% of immigrants' ballots had been counted in the early hours of Monday. Castillo, a newcomer, is facing off against Keiko Fujimori, the daughter of former dictator Alberto Fujimori and under investigation for corruption, who is making her third round for the presidency. Both candidates promise that they will respect the outcome of one of the closest presidential elections in Peru's history. And in the context of the second round of the presidential elections this Sunday in Peru, the candidate for Free Peru, Pedro Castillo, thanked the support of the citizenry and the polls at the time that he called for calm and attention to the official results of the electoral body.
For their loyalty, for this democratic celebration, for their support, and also to tell them that we must remain calm. People are wise. The people know that we people are smart. Dear fellow countrymen, who are also in the interest of the country, I call to the widest sanity. What we have here is nothing official.
Likewise, the candidate Pedro Castillo of Free Peru stressed that he will pronounce after that the National Office of Electoral Processes, OMPE, offers a first official bulletin of the electoral results of the presidential ballot this Sunday, 6 June, in Peru.
We didn't know if we were going to vote or not, because the last time there was no voting, supposedly because of the pandemic, because of the disease, because of the virus that is there. That's why they didn't allow us to vote. And this time I came because supposedly we are fine if not. It's an obligation, a right, that's it. It's very important to go out to vote. We as Peruvians have to make a decision, regardless of the person for whom you are going to vote. But there is no better way to assert our right to vote than going to the polls. It is important that this time we go out to vote. Let's vote to do something for Peru. Let's show that we are citizens for a different Peru. Thank you.
Peruvian citizens residing in Venezuela also headed to the polls this Sunday to vote for their next president, while reiterating the importance of assuming this commitment to their home country.
We want the official data of the ONP. We will get the pronouns from the moment. Calm, brothers, tranquility and war. We will repronounce from that moment. We are with the will of the people today. May today this democratic holiday remain calm and sane. Long live Peru.
Peruvian citizens living in Spain also turned out to vote this Sunday presidential runoff. More than 150,000 Peruvian citizens living in Spain were registered to vote, the majority of whom live in Madrid and Barcelona, although there are 12 other polling stations across the country. According to the National Office of Electoral Processes, a total of 1 million people from the Peruvian diaspora living in 75 countries around the world. The new president elected this Sunday will take office on July 28th, replacing interim leader Francisco Sagasti.
That is what I ask for as a Peruvian, because people who have kept us poor all our lives. That is what I ask for as a Peruvian, because we have had enough. They steal from us and we still continue to vote for them.
And now we move on. Mexicans turn out at the polls for this Sunday's legislative election, seen as a key test of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador's popularity after more than 2 years in office. The midterm polls will see the election of the 500 members of the lower house of Congress, 15 of 32 state governors, and thousands of local authorities. The vote is viewed as critical to the prospects of President López Obrador pushing through reforms under his so-called transformation of a country shaken by the coronavirus pandemic, a deep recession, and drug-related violence. The electoral process itself has seen the assassination of over 80 candidates. And President Andrés Manuel López Obrador cast his ballots in the legislative elections this Sunday. López Obrador was elected in 2018 for a term of 6 years, vowing to overhaul Mexico's neoliberal economic model. Much of his popularity is due to his social welfare programs aimed at helping the most vulnerable sectors. His supporters say he is the first president to put the interests of the Mexican majority, many of whom live in poverty, before those of the wealthy elite. And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away.
It is our duty to reverse the damage we cause to the planet. Let's recover our natural ecosystems with actions in defense of the environment. Let's keep fighting for a greener world. Wednesdays, only on teleSUR. Innovation, science, the technological breakthrough and its influence in society.
Viajeros del saber, el futuro está aquí.
Atomy. Monday, only on teleSUR.
Welcome back to From the South. In Colombia, President Iván Duque has ordered to modernize the national police structure. According to the president, the move aims to strengthen the nation's defense policy and create a police directorate to guarantee human rights. He also requested the urgent processing of a bill for the professionalization of police officers in the country. The initiative comes in the midst of the multiple abuses committed by the security forces against the peaceful mobilizations that are taking place throughout the country in the context of the national strike. The measure was also announced on the same day that a delegation of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights arrived in the country to investigate the abuses. Duque has consistently defended the security forces despite the widespread evidence of their crimes, and instead sought to blame alleged violent protesters that he has even referred to as terrorists.
Clear instructions to Minister Molano to modernize the organic structure of the Ministry of Defense at zero cost, where we will give unquestionable emphasis to citizen security, to public security, and within this emphasis, the work with our national police where we work closely with citizens and the structure of the work itself, where we will constantly improve the structure of public scrutiny and the work itself. But we will also constantly improve the actions of our soldiers and police officers.
And we continue in Colombia, where the senator for the Alternative Democratic Pole Party, Iván Cepeda, reported that a second notification was sent to the International Criminal Court, in which the data already presented in May regarding cases of abuse and negligence by the security forces against protesters was expanded.
Sent a second notification to the International Criminal Court with the cooperation of human rights organizations and social movements, in which we expanded on the first information that was to be submitted until May the 10th. We have submitted detailed information and hundreds of cases that have occurred from that date until today.
The senator held President Iván Duque fully responsible for the crimes against humanity that are being committed in the country.
And we clearly mention that the responsibility for the crimes that are being committed in Colombia, crimes against humanity, falls firstly on the President of the Republic, Iván Duque, on the Minister of Defense, Diego Molano, on Generals Zapatero and Vargas, and also on former Senator Álvaro Uribe for his incitement to violence. We highlight the fact that urban paramilitarism is being strengthened in Colombia, also that the President violates the Constitution through decrees such as 575 that creates an imposed and forced state of siege in Colombia.
Ahead of the arrival of an Inter-American Commission on Human Rights delegation, the people of Colombia continue to mobilize against the neoliberal policies of the Iván Duque government. In this context, and despite the continued repression by the security forces, different social sectors once again took to the streets to peacefully voice their demands for real change and an end to the massacre of the Colombian population. Activists also demanded that the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights properly investigate and make known the abuses they suffer at the hands of the state security forces. The president of Colombia's Central Union of Workers, Francisco Maltés, announced that the National Strike Committee had pushed for the government to authorize the visit of a delegation of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights to the country.
The National Strike Committee and several human rights platforms requested the visit of the Inter-American Human Rights Commission to Colombia in view of the serious human rights violations that have been occurring since April 28th, when the national strike began. Duque's government systematically refused to grant the green light for this visit, but the strength of the strike and international pressure have forced Duque to grant consent for the visit of the Inter-American Human Rights Commission.
In the United States, 2 wildfires burning Sunday in the hills and mountains of eastern Arizona have scorched more than 60,000 acres and prompted evacuation orders for hundreds of people. The Telegraph fire has burned more than 34,000 acres in and near the southern edge of Tonto National Forest, 60 miles east of Phoenix, since starting Friday afternoon. The Pinal County Sheriff's Office said Sunday morning an evacuation had been ordered for residents in the area of Top of the World, a community of about 250 people. Officials also said residents of Superior, a town of about 3,000 people, have to be ready to evacuate. The other blaze, named the Mescal Fire, had burned nearly 26,000 acres into the Mescal Mountains, roughly 120 miles east of Phoenix, as of Sunday morning. Authorities evacuated people on the east side of the State Route 77 near El Capitan, as well as the Soda Canyon area near San Carlos Lake. No deaths or injuries have been reported in either fire, and the causes of both are under investigation. In the German state of Saxony-Anhalt, Conservative Christian Democratic Union of Germany party members celebrated securing around 36% of the vote in a regional election seen as a test for the national elections in September. Angela Merkel's CDU party saw a convincing win on Sunday in the final regional vote before the first general election in 16 years, not to feature the veteran chancellor, giving a major boost to her conservative would-be successor. Under new party chief Armin Laschet, the CDU came well ahead of the second place far-right party Alternative for Germany, which secured 22.5% of votes and was originally projected to land an upset victory.
Of course, we are all happy that this is a brilliant success for Premier Heslov and the CDU, and the good thing about it is firstly that we have won a very good result, secondly that it is a result that gives us a boost for the federal elections, and thirdly that the AfD is so far behind us. If you've been an activist since 1990, you've been through election campaigns where you had a good feeling and then a bad result. And this time we are all a bit unsure of what would happen. We were optimistic, but to get such a result, that makes us very happy.
Extreme weather has resulted in the flooding of several parts of Germany, causing the death of at least one person and extensive damage. In Berthelsdorf, in the western Saxony region, floodwaters ran down streets and submerged cars, while fire crews also helped pump muddy waters out of homes. Rescue personnel have responded to hundreds of incidents as the adverse weather, which has struck the country over the past few days, caused major flooding in some regions. Authorities had issued severe weather warnings on Saturday for parts of Germany, a day after a man was killed and a 12-year-old girl was injured in separate storm-related incidents. And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us.
¿Qué tal? Sean todos muy bienvenidos a Vidas. Hay lugares donde el arte se unifica con el orgullo de los pueblos. Y esos lugares están llenos de colores, alegría, pasión, tradiciones, arraigo, valor y entrega.
Real Life. Fridays. Only on teleSUR.
En un mundo en constante movimiento, todos los días se generan nuevos sucesos y es necesario conocerlos. Nos preguntamos, ¿qué hay detrás de cada acontecimiento? ¿Cuáles son las consecuencias y cómo nos afectan? Ante estas preguntas, buscaremos poner el punto en la I.
Dotting the I. Saturday, only on teleSUR.
Welcome back. Israeli occupation police on Sunday arrested two prominent activists campaigning against the threatened expulsion of Palestinian families from homes in the Israeli-annexed East Jerusalem neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah. Police took away Mona Al-Kurd, aged 23, for questioning and left a summons for her twin brother, Muhammad, a day after police had also detained an Al Jazeera journalist covering a demonstration nearby. The family's lawyer said Mona had been charged with acts of disturbed peace and order and riotous acts. Her twin brother, Mohammed Al-Kurd, later turned himself in at a police station after receiving the summons. In footage widely shared on social media, she was shown handcuffed and taken by officers out of her family's home in Sheikh Jarrah, whose struggle has further fueled Palestinian anger over Israel's Zionist settlement movement. And the father of prominent activist Mona Al-Kurd stressed that Palestinian residents of Sheikh Jarrah will not be silenced by the Israeli occupation in fighting for their rights.
In the morning, by the presence of about 7 or 8 members of the Special Forces and the intelligence unit asking for Mona and Muhammad, they attacked and searched the whole house, and even a female soldier entered while I was sleeping to see whether I was awake or not. I did not see any warrant that allows them to search or break into my house that way. We will not be feared, and our voice will remain loud until we take back our right. Despite of what the Israeli police, special forces, and all the governmental and military units are doing, they will not be able to get what they want from us. This is our country, those are our lands, this is our Jerusalem, and we will continue on defending it, together with our children. They will not frighten us, nor our children.
The Israeli regime has launched a COVID-19 vaccine campaign for 600,000 teenagers aged 12 to 15. The move comes 6 months after Israel began its vaccination drive for adults and after the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for the age group. Thousands have already booked appointments through the country's health maintenance organizations. According to the plan, teens who are at greater risk of suffering severe symptoms from coronavirus infections will be the first advised to get the shots.
Usually, I am afraid of vaccines, but I know the importance and that this is the way to lower the risk of contagion from corona, or God forbid, being seriously ill, anesthetized, and on a respirator. It scares me very much.
At first, I was scared because on several occasions I had children in my class who got ill with corona, and I was afraid that I too would get sick. Now that I have been vaccinated, I feel safe.
And Nepal has authorized a COVID-19 vaccine made by Chinese pharmaceutical company Sinovac for emergency use, after the number of confirmed coronavirus cases increased to nearly 600,000 on Saturday. The country's drug regulator on Friday approved the emergency use of China's Sinovac vaccine for local residents, aged 18 or above, to contain a resurgence of the virus. Nepal reported 5,000 new confirmed COVID-19 cases in the last 24 hours, according to the country's Ministry of Health and Population. Meanwhile, 68 new coronavirus deaths were recorded on Saturday, taking the national death toll close to 8,000. And a black box from a ship loaded with chemical and plastic that is sinking off Sri Lanka has been located, officials said on Sunday as investigators probed what caused the vessel to catch fire. Sri Lankan authorities said they hope it will provide details of the ship's movements and its communications with the harbor in the capital, Colombo, where it had been due to dock. The Singapore-registered MV Express Pearl has been slowly sinking into the Indian Ocean since Wednesday, after a fire that raged for nearly 2 weeks within sight of the coast. The Jordanian parliament on Sunday voted to dismiss a member whose supporters clashed with security forces. During an emergency session, 180 lawmakers voted for Osama al-Jamer's dismissal after Parliament approved a memorandum submitted by lawmakers in which he was accused of offensive statements, insulting the Parliament and King Abdullah II. The outspoken MP had accused the government of deliberately plunging the country into darkness to prevent a march on Amman seeking to have the Israeli ambassador expelled from the recent bombing campaign in Gaza. According to a statement released by the Public Security Directorate on Saturday night, 4 security personnel were injured in Nawar Bridge, near Amman International Airport, following a riot that saw burning vehicles and shooting in the air by the MP's supporters. And the police in northwest Nigeria's Kebbi State said Sunday that the death toll from an attack by a gang cattle thieves on 7 villages Thursday had risen to 88. The region has struggled with decades-long communal clashes over resources, but more recently some groups have become more violent, looting, killing and kidnapping for ransom. Dozens of assailants on motorcycles attacked 7 neighboring villages in Danko Wasangu district. Police were deployed to the area over the weekend to forestall further attacks. The assailants were believed to have launched the attacks from neighboring Zamfara or Niger states, where criminals are known to maintain camps. And a group of gunmen have killed at least 160 civilians in Burkina Faso in the deadliest attacks since violence erupted in the West African country in 2015, officials said on Saturday. The attackers struck on Friday night, killing residents of the village of Solhan in Yaga province, bordering Niger and Mali. The government has declared a 72-hour period of national mourning, describing the attackers as terrorists, although no group has claimed responsibility. President Roch Marc Christian Kabore called the killings barbaric and said the population must remain united and solid against these attacks.
For some time Tate had stopped, so we thought everything was okay. But now we see it starting again. People are being killed. This news we just heard about really affects me as a Burkinab. So we are calling for them to look into security and assuring security so that there is peace in the country and in the provinces.
It hurts us. It hurts us. I am not happy. The authorities have to look into how they can help the population, especially in villages in the north. The people there are suffering a lot, so we call on the president to help the people in the north and see what he can do for them, because really, at least 100 deaths in one day is not easy, and it really hurts us.
And we have come to the end of this news brief, but remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.